Welcome to the Desert Wanderers podcast. If you're new here, we bridge the gap between you and the person in the pew next to you. I interview priests, religious, and laity in our local Boise diocese, asking questions that'll help you navigate your vocation and build community wherever you are with whatever resources you may have. Let's build the city of God together. Well, welcome, John and Heidi Flanagan. I'm so excited to have you on the Desert Wanderers podcast. For the audience, you may recognize them for the Generational Catholicism series that we do as our priestly offshoot on the show. And so we're so excited to have you here and have your presence on our show again. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're blessed to be here.
I'm so excited. So today we are going to be talking about holy discipline. And again, I'll have to have your help a little bit for the older ages because we were talking a little bit offline. I have younger kids, so 5 and under, but there is a lot of discipline. I think as children go, there's probably different stages of discipline and having different developmental milestones that might need some guidance on. So you'll have to help me with the older ages. But could you guys just go in and first tell me in the audience, if they haven't seen any other videos, kind of what your family looks like and how many children you have and so forth?
We're blessed with 7 children that we get to hold. And so our oldest is going to turn 21, crazy, this summer. And our youngest is 7. So we've got a gamut. We have 5 boys and 2 girls, although I will say our 5 boys are spread out. So we have 2 boys and then 2 girls and then 3 boys.
I like to say good protection for my beautiful daughters.
Yes.
They've got brothers on both sides, and even the younger ones are a little big for their age. Like, yeah, who are you looking at, my sister?
The boys are like the bookends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wonderful. So for me, this is something I find really interesting. I listen to a lot of podcasts about parenting, and it almost feels like a lot of the advice is for girls. Have you found that to be similar, or if there's different ways to parent girls and boys?
Fascinating. I think each child is so different, and their needs, their temperaments, what speaks to them, what doesn't speak to them, what motivates them. So I don't know that I can answer that super well. When we had 2 or maybe 3 children, our oldest, who's typically like a rule follower, but he was being normal and testing his boundaries and saying no and being disobedient. And so I was like, oh no, crap, what do I do? I love this kid, but I want to throw him out the window. And especially when you've got more kids, you just don't have the wherewithal to pick him up all the time and remove him from everything. And so I just was feeling pretty desperate. And that's when a book came into our life called Kids Are Worth It by Barbara Coloroso. And she talked about being a backbone parent, not jellyfish and not a brick wall. And so we don't need to go into all that, but I found that to be super helpful. And we had people in our lives that we could watch. And so much of it is, come Holy Spirit, what's gonna click for this kid? What do I need to work on so I can not lose my control or blow up in anger, say things I don't want to say, things I'm going to regret? Holy Spirit, what do you have? And he really does want to help us and gives us ideas, gives us breaks, gives us one another.
I'd say there is a difference. Even though we did very similar things, the application and the intensity of whatever the discipline was. And what I mean by that, one of our go-to disciplines is wall squats. Remember, like what you do in physical education class, arms out, knees bent, 90-90. I'm like, I don't want my hand hurting, smacking your butt. I'm not really into corporal punishment in that sense. But there can be a place, the little tiny kids, you're going to swat the hand and don't touch the hot stove. It'll hurt you. But using those wall squats, I definitely leaned on those to my boys who were pushing their boundaries. I had a child that worked his way up to a 12-minute wall squat. Granted, it was he was either going to be obedient or he's going to be buff. He became both. But granted, they were kind of cheating wall squats. He's kind of leaning against the wall. I mean, they're little kids, so you're not here to be the brick wall as Heidi was talking about. You love them, but it's being able to say no, that there are consequences. And so it's being able to talk, the language for my now 10-year-old, or soon to be 10-year-old, is you've purchased this with your bad choice. Now you need to pay for it.
Mm.
This is your payment as you're on the wall for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm not here to, it's not emotional. The biggest thing I think, even in the differences from working with boys or girls, is us working on ourselves first. We need to be the best and holiest people we can be to keep our tempers reined in, because it's so easy to be, they pushed your buttons and you just want to respond in kind. But what is that teaching them?
Yeah. I have another question based off that. Well, I'm going to ask you one follow-up question, which is, did you make your girls also do wall squats?
You
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah. Okay. And then the second question I have with that is, um, there is so much of parenting that I'm learning is my relation, well, first is based on our relationship with my child, and then also is how much of it is my expectations not aligning with like the age appropriateness of that child, or it is a lot on me, I guess, is that, I think they say like something, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but I think some of the experts say that they get like 85 or 90% of their behavior from modeling.
Mm.
So if you're generous, they'll be generous. If you're helpful, they'll be helpful. If you are constantly telling them to shoo, go away, I'm doing something important, they'll learn that their job is to go play and not to help with chores. And I think that's a good call to parents to be aware of, but it's also really hard to work on yourself. Before I have a couple of questions for you guys following up, Heidi, your story or your answer. But I did want to ask, were there different times in both of your guys' parenting that you really had to do that, where you had to work on yourself, and how did you grow through that at the same time of parenting? Because it feels like I told my friends this the other day. I was like, sometimes I feel like I'm a sword on an anvil, or like a piece of metal on an anvil, like getting hit, just like you need to be better at this, but you also have to be working on that. And you're just like getting smacked by your kids on one side, and then you're getting flipped over and God's smacking you on the other side, saying like, you need to work on these virtues yourself. I was like, at this point, I was like, this is so hard. I mean, it's good and it's beautiful. And in the end, you'll become this beautiful sword or whatever you want it to be. But it's really can be, I think, hard as an adult going from an individual to a married couple to you together having different parenting styles and your own things to becoming parents and then being like, oh, I really have more things I need to work on. So I guess in your own story, how did that work out for you guys?
Okay, so I'm laughing inside because it was just a night or two ago that John and I had a conversation. It was mostly me speaking, and I was mostly crying. And I was just like, so now I'm in this phase where I've been saying the same things. I've been doing this for this many years. I'm premenopausal. My hormones are everywhere. My fuse feels like it's, I don't know, my fuse feels like it's this big. And these kids are still, it's just like, ah. And then all the self-doubt and what do they really need? And I, I don't know, like, am I doing the right thing? Is this just me being frustrated and tired and cranky, or are they really needing me to come in here? And so I don't mean that to be discouraging, but I do think it is a lifelong thing of we're not in heaven yet. And so we're constantly getting I prefer the stones being rubbed smooth image where these stones are rubbing me and it's making me smooth, but boy, oh boy, I don't like the feeling of these stones rubbing against me. And so, I don't know. That's
To add to that, to add a little hope, I'm a sucker for hope. That's the complementarity of the two of us, and your husband and wife. God didn't, and nothing disparaging on anybody that is in a position of being a single parent. God bless them, and God will bless them to do what they need. In God's original plan, man and wife are both there to be able to be there for the child. And so what's often between the two of us is I love him. I want to throw him out the window. It's like, okay, that's like the wrestling, up, hand off, I'm in, you're out, we're good. And so when your emotions are high yourself, it's not a good time to try to be the disciplinarian. And it's not wait until dad comes home. I'm not suggesting that at all. She has every authority that I have and vice versa. My primary role as a disciplinarian is usually, didn't I hear mom tell you to fill in the blank? Why are you still here? Why aren't you doing that? And it's, giving the dad hairy eyeball, like, didn't mom just tell you? Get. So it's kind of looking over mom's shoulder, just adding the paternal enforcement of, she said it, I just need to look and be like, go, you get the little point, like, get a move on. That it helps, hopefully, I'll let my wife speak for herself, that it takes some of that burden off to know that it's a burden shared. And that it's not you're dealing with it, I'm going to go do whatever guys do. It's like, no, I need to be there. I said yes to this marriage, and those kids are half me, and they probably got the bad traits from me. So I'll own it and say, here, let's deal with this together. And so it's being able to do that handoff in that season, or to be able to be that encouragement or additional enforcement. And enforcement sounds like, even the term discipline, I'm not here to discipline our kids. I'm here to instill discipline in them so that they do the right thing when they ought, not just when they feel like it.
I love that. Instill discipline. Yeah, I think well, let's take a second to define, I guess, what we mean by holy discipline. So, could you give us some light on what the point of discipline should be? And I guess you kind of did, but I'll have you restate it.
I think it's really tempting to just want our kids to be easy. At least I'm speaking for myself. So often when I'm frustrated, it's because it's hard. It's hard work. And I have to be in control. And I have to make sure that I'm, like you said, my expectations, that I'm communicating clearly, that I really set them up for success to do what they ought for the reason of, this is the right thing to do, so I'm going to do it, even if it's hard. And so, like you're saying, I need to do that. This is the right thing for me to do, is to stay in control, take a deep breath, and speak to you. And I can have my mom voice, and I can have my big eyes, and you can know that I'm really serious, but I still need to be in control, and I still need to use my words so that I can model that to the kids. And so, and I'm doing it for the reason that it's what I ought to do. It's so much easier to just be like, whatever, I'm going to bribe you, or I'm going to gloss over it, or I'm going to distract you, or I'm going to laugh it off. That's a lot easier, but it's not what it never ends up well. It doesn't serve anybody well.
It's not easier in the long run either. I would even say, before even answering that question, we need to take it back a step further. It's not in trying to instill discipline as the first thing. That can only be successful after you've instilled a greater sense of love. It's a nightly occurrence for us, that when they go to bed, it's a question, is there anything you can do to make me love you more? No. Is there anything you can do to make me love you less? No. Why do I love you? Because I'm your son, because I'm your daughter. And that's every day of their life. whoever's putting them to bed, that's the routine, because they need to know that being loved is non-negotiable, and you are loved simply for who you are as a gift to us from God. And it's why do I love you? It's because God gave me to you. That's right. You're a gift first. You are made good, but you're still human. You have concupiscence. We all do. There's a reason for confession throughout our life. And it's even conversations, varying ages, the language changes a little bit, but it's having a conversation with a 5-year-old of, I made a promise to God that I was going to help you become a good man. That's what I did at your baptism when I'm taking responsibility. Well, even when I said I do with my wife to whatever children may come. So from the beginning, I made a promise to God to ensure I'm doing all that I can to make sure you're a good man, that you're a good woman. That's first and foremost. And so when I see that this path is not on a trajectory of you being that good person who God made you to be, and you have every ability to be, I'm going to check that. And sometimes the more that you are offline, well, I need to push a little harder to get you back online. I don't like doing the wall squats. Like, do you think, Dad, we call them consequences. There's the consequence to your action. You did this, there's a consequence. Sometimes it's good. I mowed the lawn for a neighbor and I got paid. That was a good consequence. I did the action. Well, if you are being mean to your sister or your sister's being mean to you, well, there's a consequence to that. And
Yeah.
so it's going back even to the language I was just using of, you bought that with your activity, your actions. Now you need to pay for that. That's the consequence. And the Lord paid for our consequences by dying on the cross. Sometimes it's going to feel like you're on the cross a little bit, but that's good for you to
Yeah.
remember what he has done for you, and to remember that sin is never pleasant and it has a cost. You might not always feel it. That's what we help you do, is feel it, because telling a little white lie is still a lie and still one of the top 10 in God's books of thou shalt not. We need to help instill that understanding. So again, not to belabor the point, but it starts back with love, because I can't withdraw anything from that relational bank account if I have not first put something in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Did that answer your question?
Beautiful. Yes, beautiful. Can we talk about love for a second? I have so many notes. Like, you're saying some like beautiful things, and I have so many questions, but let's talk about that love. And I love how Father Sintra has built like this little quadrant box, right? You have high affection, high expectation, right? Then you have high affection, low expectation, and low affection, low expectation, high. I'm trying to do it in the right order. High expectation, and then low affection, low expectation, right? And he talks about, obviously the one that we want is the top corner, which is high love, high expectation. So how do you guys so I know you said that at night you talk about the love, but how are other ways that you feel like you help recharge that bank, and how do you put money into that bank? Um, I think with littles, because so much of my job right now is trying to guide behavior and guide relationships, like sibling relationships, it often can feel like my husband and I are just like, yes, no, yes, no. Like, and it's not like it's this outpouring of like, at night sorry, sometimes I'll put them to nap, and I need them to nap because I have one day at the office and the rest of the time I work during their naps, and I'm going to have to find something else when they stop napping. But I'll just be so frustrated because they'll get out of bed like 1,000 times. And then at the end, when I finally have threatened them the last time, I open the door right before I leave. I say, I love you. Close the door. You know what I mean? So there's so much like testing going on that sometimes it feels like, are we putting into the bank enough? And how do I discern this is a lack of affection versus like a behavior I actually need to address, right? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
I think there are 1,000 different ways that you can show love, and each child is probably going to receive love in a different way. or have their top love language. And so I think we do our lousy best with simple things, eye contact, having meals together where we might be listening to an audiobook, but we don't have screen time at meals. And if you can have 1, 2, 3 meals together, I mean, for sure, one, if possible, meals together, have fun together. Um, we we found it where it's like we're gonna work together, we're gonna eat together, we're gonna pray together, we're gonna play together. And so it's not mommy's doing her thing and you're doing your thing all the time. Now, obviously, there are times like what you're saying where it's like, oh, okay, this is nap time. This is mommy's work time. And so this is what this means. But so much other time of the day for us to spend time together. We're going to do chores together. We're going to visit friends together. We're going to make a meal together for somebody just had a baby, whatever. I think there are 1,000 opportunities. But even if our life looks different, there's a lot that happens when you give somebody eye contact and you're an active listener and you care. And so they come to you really upset, so-and-so hit me or they took my toy or whatever, to just take a second and say, okay, I hear you. Let's come up with a solution. Or that was tough. I mean, I know for me, when somebody looks me in the eye and hears me and even just says, oh, yeah, or how did that make you feel? Or, whatever, it goes a long way. So even if your ship's in the night, even the little bit that you can of just that interaction is helpful.
Two things come to mind. One is it's never too frequent to say I love you. Like each one of my children, it's even something I grew up with. My mom used to just say, something? Then what? I love you. And that was it. That's the whole conversation. And so I continue with my kids. Something? I love you. Like they don't even wait to say what. They give my response. It's like, I love you. And it's being able, we live in a world that is so quick to criticize and say we're not good enough or we're too much. We cannot say enough that you're loved. You're good enough. And so in one sense, it's just when you see him in the morning, it's like, good morning, love. How are you? Do you know something? Just if we change the way we speak and not to be critical, but to say, this really is a gift from God. Now, mind you, there's still, Heidi and I, we're still normal people. We can get totally frustrated with their kids and want to throw them out the window like, oh, they're killing me. But by and large, we do acknowledge to them and to ourselves that they're a gift. We have great kids. And they need to know that because they are their own worst critic. And then the second piece, and just letting them know that love is even when you're disciplining them, when they're your kid size, for us, I'm 6'2". I kneel down or I'm bending down. I'm looking them in the eye and not this authoritarian, God from on high, Dad, you shall not. And like, no. And it might even be grabbing their face and looking them in the eye like, that's not okay. And so it's eye contact at their level. And then after whatever discipline, I mean, for some of the youngers, it would be a swat on the backside upon occasion. Usually it's wall squats, especially as they get older. And then at the end of it, it's just, come here, give me a hug. Do you know that I love you? And then it might even be is asking those same questions that we do at night, right in that moment. Is there anything you can do to make me love you less? Now, what can we do to change this? Was that a good choice? And being able to process with them a little bit, even when they're little, I think I'll speak for me. Early on, I would not dignify my children enough by thinking that they can understand what I'm saying. Like, don't underestimate your kids. Speak to them like an adult, and you'll be surprised how quickly they start to change and respond with a mature response. Not a, I don't want to. It's, no, that was a bad choice. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But good, it was a bad choice. I'm glad you see that.
I really like the idea that I think I heard it first from Scott Hahn, but he does like a basically confession night where they have like from this time to this time you can come and tell me whatever, and there will not be, I think he says there's not punishment. They might have like a penance, which is like a correction of the, like if I stole something from my sister, you have to give it back, but there's no like punishment. And I
Mhm.
love that idea because it reconnects the bond where it's like it's safe to tell mom and dad things without being scared of that. And I think I haven't implemented something like that because or even other things that I find in these discipline books, right? Or these parenting books. And for specifically that reason, it's like, well, is it appropriate for them? Like, should I be having these conversations? Like, how much of it is like going in and out? Like, how much of it is just being soaked in? Like, I don't know, right? So I think that's really good to hear. Like, yes, they can absorb more. I think that helps me also. Well, here's my question, I guess. Some of the things, it doesn't seem like it sticks. Do you think that's more of a temperament thing and an adjustment to the temperament, or do you think it's an age thing?
I think one of the things about love, just one other thought, is similar, but it's so helpful to acknowledge that we're human too.
Yeah.
And so, especially as our kids get older and they confess something, to say, yeah, welcome to humanity.
Ugh.
That was, that was selfish. I get it. I'm selfish too. Or honestly, a lot of our discipline has come from reading great books because you see Laura Ingalls Wilder, she disobeyed Pa and she went where she wasn't supposed to go, and you see the consequence. And or the girls went down the hay mow or whatever it was called, and they just didn't understand that they were actually being disobedient then. And the conversations that happen, not because I'm asking questions, but because they're hearing these stories. And especially if we're reading them aloud
Yeah.
or we're listening to them together, then when something happens, it gives me a way to talk about those bad choices. Like, do you remember when Laura did this? Could Pa trust her? Oh, so I need to be able to trust you. Do you want people to trust you? Can you be trusted if you make these bad choices? And I just think it gives us a whole different way. It's like this open window that we have access to in having characters live their lives, and you see the mistakes that they make and the good choices they make and the bad choices and the consequences. And it gives us a way to talk about things because they know the story.
I have a question about that with your own life. So I'm probably I probably overshare 90% of my life. But one of the questions that I have is, sounds like my parents didn't really tell us about the mistakes they made. And so it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized, oh, like mom and dad did these things too. It came out later, right? So how much of those stories did you ever use examples from your own childhood or your own life to give them? And then also if you haven't, did you think that was appropriate, or why did you not think it's appropriate? I guess kind of going on to sharing similar stories about yourself as a child and so forth versus using characters.
Great question. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm Irish. I tell stories, and my kids, it's funny, they start telling my stories to their friends, like, that didn't happen to you, that was me. Uh, so, but point in sharing that is, yes, I share things of my childhood, the good and the bad, and swimming in a canal underneath a road that's completely submerged was not a good life choice. My dad said, "Don't do it," but I did it anyways. And then be able to say, I could have drowned in that. That was just my guardian angel looking after me. Dad makes bad choices, and as they get older, I married up so far it's ridiculous, and luckily the kids take after their mother, so praise God. But I as they become more age appropriate, to share with my older teens, dad was a bit of a prodigal. There was a time when I wasn't living out my faith and I was making bad choices. I don't go into all the details. They don't need to know all the details. But I'm very clear that no, dad wasn't the person you see now who wants to go to mass every day, still struggles to do that, but wants to and carries a rosary in his pocket. Yeah, that was not the man who was to become your father when he was 20. But the Lord, it's in me that I know that there's a better way. And I can speak with conviction to say, if you continue that path, you're a lot like your dad there. Dad did that, and that led me a place you don't want to go. And so I want to help you so that you learn from my mistakes and you don't have to make the same mistakes. You're a lot smarter than that. I was dumb. Be smarter than your dad.
I think, and that's the balance. And I like how you put it, where you don't give the details because it's like, well, how do I tell, at what age do I tell what mistakes I made and how do I address that so that either they can or can't, like they at least have all the information to hopefully not choose that decision, right? And I think that's kind of the balance. Again, I'm not quite there. I think that's more towards like probably teenagers because that's when most of us decide to do dumb things. But just speaking for myself. So
Well, it was even earlier, though, just in being able to tell the truth. I mean, we had children that realized that, oh, if I just give a little white, we used to call him the little lawyer. He would try to find well, it's not exactly this way. And he'd try to, even when he was, under 10, try to wheel out and say, son, that's still lying. You know, that's not what was asked of you. And so being able to share those things of, no, I did that. And these are the consequences. These aren't the consequences we're going to give you, but I need you to know that you lose trust. And I need to be able to trust my children. I need to be able to trust my son. Do you want me to be able to trust you? And it's like, again, I've lived that life and it was not good. When I was your age, you're not alone. I did the same thing, but it's not a good place to stay. So again, it's where appropriate. It's not detailing the sin. We're not trying to glorify the sin, but the circumstances of our own lives, we're a kind of an open book to our kids in one level.
yeah.
Age appropriate, what is the topic? But I totally hear you, and you're right. Some topics are better left for teenagers, but you're going to be surprised where even those little moments of just truth. Nope, you need to tell the truth all the time
Yeah.
because it's the right thing to do, even if it means you're going to face a consequence. Because it's lying to get out of something is never good.
Yeah.
I even think of like taking turns. Oh, the toy that you're playing with. It is so fun. It's so fun that your sibling sees how fun it is because you're making it look so fun. And so now they want to turn. And I get it. It's hard when you're having fun with something. Like I have a hard time if I'm reading my phone and I've got a message, I want to read it. But there are times I got to set that phone down so that I can do the right thing. And so I know it's hard to set down your toy and give your brother a turn, and you can have a turn again. And I know, like, I feel it too. I think we can have that kind of interchange to just recognize, like, yeah, it's hard.
That's a great point. So another, I guess, question I have, I really want to get into how you helped instill how to do what they ought instead of bribes and negotiating and things. I want to get into that, but before we do, talking to them at that little of an age about turns, a lot of people say, no, just action, just action. Do you think when you do just action, so you just take the toy and put it up or whatever, do you think that is valuable at any age? Like, so say if siblings are fighting over toy and just removing the toy, or is it more important to, like you said, trust that their intellect is more developed than you think and to explain it? In the parenting world, there is two kind of camps where it's like, we should talk to our kids and make sure that they understand. And then there's the other camp of saying like, no, you should nip things in the bud and then, or in the bud, and then they can get it back once they're calmed down and you've helped them like re-regulate. It's very interesting. Parenting is quite divided. It's a lot of different information. It's kind of confusing. So I guess in your point of view, which have you seen or which one have you leaned towards more and has it been helpful?
In the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's both.
Mm-hmm.
It's having the conversation, saying this isn't okay. And so it's so Heidi would say count to a number, and that's, then it's their turn to take it. If they don't listen and given the opportunity to do it themselves, then we step in and say, well, you've lost a turn. You don't get a turn now because you took theirs. Now they get to play with it and you don't. So it's giving them the opportunity to make the right choice. Almost, I mean, when they're under a year, yeah, there's not a conversation happening. But when they're starting to talk, just reinforce. I would say one of the key things to instilling the discipline and loving the children first is that it's not a checklist. It's just this is how you parent all the time. You can't be I'm in the disciplinarian mode or I'm in the loving mode. You're both all the time because it's loving to teach discipline all the time. And so being able to see, do I take it? I'm not going to just take it because what does that teach them? I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I get my way.
I take it.
No,
Yeah.
that's not what I want to teach them. I am bigger, I am stronger, but I've asked you to give your sibling a turn. And then if you choose not to, well, then the consequence of your action, not mine, is you now don't get to play with this toy and they get to play with it because they were waiting patiently.
And I think so much of it is, I don't want to get into this battle of wills. And I don't want to get into this thing where like, mom's got to be the judge because I got lunch to make or whatever. And so I feel like what's helped us a lot is to say, how would you feel if, we'd say things like, don't bite. Teeth are for chewing food, not biting people, or
it was a book that we would just quote. Ouch, biting hurts.
And so, okay, child one bites child two because they're frustrated. Something happened and so they bite. Oh gosh, so screaming. Mom comes in. Oh, what happened? It looks like you're hurt. You're crying. You're upset. You're angry. Okay, let's everybody take a deep breath. Mom needs to take a deep breath. Okay, take a deep breath. Oh, child one, look, you got frustrated. It's okay to be frustrated, but it's not okay to bite. How would you like it if somebody bit you? It hurts. That's why child number two is crying. Look at how it hurts. It sounds, but really it's these kinds of simple conversations. Yeah, biting hurts. Okay, so you hurt so-and-so. What can you do to make it better? And, if they're really little, like give someone, maybe a hug will make it better. Maybe you can kiss the spot where you bit. Unless they, I don't know, some kids have wanted us to like kiss their tongue. You're like, I'm going to blow that one over there.
Yeah. Or, I don't know why they bit your butt, but no, I'm not kissing your butt. No. There we go. That's a good kiss.
So I think allowing them a chance to see like how we that feels like that's kind of age irrelevant of how would you feel? We just had a kid the other day, parish picnic. They were sharing about this kid who wanted to play with them. And he was like, no, you can't play with us because we're doing this thing. And he actually told this kid's dad, the dad's getting involved to have this. And I just said, oh my gosh, honey, thanks for telling me. How would you feel if you were in this boy's shoes? You wanted to play with some older kids and they told you no. And then they got your dad. And he went from like telling me kind of all self-righteous, like this kid, can you believe it? To you could see a shift, like he just wilted. I said, okay, so you see how that would make this kiddo feel. What can you do now? And I think allowing that reparation, like we can go over there, we can call. When's the next time we're going to see him? You can apologize. Do you want to offer to have him come over and play? Something. So it's not just like the instant slap. Oh, I'm going to now just hide what I'm doing so mom doesn't see so I don't get punished. It's really trying to see like, how would this make you feel?
The thought just came to me as something you said earlier is when you're doing it, what's the age appropriate? Is it sticking? And this is not in any way meant to be pejorative, please, so don't hear it this way. But you, the listeners, us, how often do we go to the confession with the same sin? Is it really fair to expect this child who doesn't have the human formation, emotional maturity to be like, well, I told you you're supposed to do it this way. Why don't you do it? I know the Lord is just shaking his head like, well, how many times have I told you not to do X? And you do it a weekly, a daily, whatever the number. But the Lord still loves us in that moment. And it's just the constant. There was a story of like a coal basket that was just a woven basket that was somebody used to carry coal in for a coal burning house. And the grandpa told the grandchild, I'd like you to bring me a basket of water. And so the kid runs and fills up the basket. And by the time he runs back to the house, it's all out of water because it's a woven basket. Sort of jumping through that without telling the whole story is at the end of this child doing it multiple times. Like, I just can't. So it was wasted time. I said, no, it wasn't wasted time. Look at the basket. Is the basket dirty anymore? No, the basket's clean. It's that continual doing it over and over and over again that something beautiful emerged. Or they tell the story of the cracked pot where the person carrying the water, it's like, do you notice that there's flowers on the side that the cracked pot is carried on? Is because why are they carrying it? It's broken. It's wasted time. You're not listening. Why don't we just fix it? You can't, because you're going to miss something that's truly beautiful. And so it's that repetition. And if there's something for us to even tell ourselves, be merciful on them and be merciful on yourself. Mm-hmm. It's just be there, be consistent. It doesn't mean go light and be like, oh, that's okay. No, wrong is still wrong. But the difference is we can let our emotions get fried and be like, oh, just do whatever. Then that just tells them, well, if I push the buttons enough, I'm going to get what I want. And that's the part where I have a day job that I'm not with the children, 24/7. And so when Heidi hits that point of like, okay, let's hand off, so I can be that rock at Gibraltar. You can whine, you can complain all you want. I got zero empathy for when this is something wrong. That's not going to serve my wife well to be in that fight for longer than she's already been. Like, no, And that's just part of the complementarity. It's like, you can do whatever you want. It's just washing you. The more you push, the more I'm going to push back. It's just our no means no. And the more you fight that no, the worse it's going to be for you. And I would say that often leads to the power of subtraction. That's another one of our disciplinary tools, is the more they increase their push and their whine, the more they lose. So an example is, I want to go to bed, and we had children that had like 15 different stuffed animals that they wanted in their bed, and all these different cozy blankies, and then they're still at a point where they're wetting the bed. You're like, you want the bed, and then we got to take 2 days to do all this laundry that's on your bed. No, it's ridiculous. But they want it and they've got it. But then they're not listening when mom said it's time to go to bed, or have you brushed your teeth? And so then they're laying like, I want this. I just start taking literally the stuffed animals off. I'm like, okay, well, you just lost that bear. And you just lost another. And I said, would you like to get your bears? Okay, then stop whining. Here's another one. And I'm just throwing them off the bed. Like, would you like them back? Yes. Then how about we stop crying and do what mom asked you to do? All right. And then it's, okay, I grabbed the stuffed animals and you can have them back. But if I leave this room, they're coming with me. You have a choice now to make the right choice and have all your cool stuffed animals, or you don't get any of them tonight. And that's your choice.
Okay, that's a perfect example, I think. A perfect example. I have someone like that, actually. So, but my question is sometimes I feel like my husband and I do this thing where it's like, whatever threat we're doing isn't working, right? And so, when you're saying you get more, like the more they push back, the more aggressive you get. But at the end, you gave the stuffed animals back. And I think that's the part that my husband and I are like, well, now that he did it, do we like say, nope, you can have him tomorrow? Or like, I'm just thinking in this scenario, right? It's like, or do we give it back immediately? Or I have this struggle in myself, and I think other people have it too, which is the love and discipline. Like, is because I love my kid, I want to discipline them, but I don't want to overly discipline. I don't want to punish them, right? Which is, I'm going to do this so you feel pain. That's how I would define punishment.
Mhm.
But I also want to make sure that the discipline is appropriate for whatever vice you're trying to correct. And so the line that I struggle with, and I think others that I know struggle with is, was that a good enough discipline? And again, like you were saying, we come back to the confessional a lot. So it's
Mhm.
like, well, if I've been doing this for weeks and I'm still not seeing a real change, like, is that a good discipline? And you start to, like you said, Heidi, like guess yourself, like, is this working? Is it not working? So how do you gauge what type of discipline will teach them what they ought to do versus turn into like, again, threats or bribes or whatever?
I love to set our kids up for success. So giving them, and I think observing, like, oh, it's hard for them to leave a friend's house. It's hard for them to share toys. It's hard for them to brush their teeth or put away their laundry. You kind of know what your kids struggle with. And maybe it's all of those because if they're a normal kid. So, for example, when we're over at a friend's house, it's time to pick. Before we even get there, we're driving to the friend's house. I just think it sets them up for success. If you can say, okay, we get to go to so and so's house. What are you looking forward to playing with? Or what are you looking forward to about this time? And then to say, me too, I'm looking forward to it. Now, we need to, when mommy says it's time to go, I'm going to give you a 5-minute warning. So that lets you know you've got 5 minutes more to play. And then at that point, it's going to be cleanup time and we're all going to clean up together. If you'd like to go back to this friend's house, if you'd like to have, or even just if you want to have play dates, you're going to show me that you can handle play dates by obeying right away and cheerfully. So that when I say it's 5 minutes, you're going to say, okay, mom. And that when I say it's time to clean up, we're going to clean up and we're going to do our best and we're going to say goodbye and we're going to hop back into the van. And you can show me that you can do that. You show me you can handle playdates and we'll have more of them. Does that make sense?
What happens if they don't? Do you just
So
like give
then
up
I
play dates or what
so
do
then
you?
I say, so they're throwing a fit. Because right, that happens. Oh, so remember we talked about if you did you have so much fun at this play date? I want you to have more play dates. And I know you want more play dates, but you're showing me you can't handle it. Is that what you want to be showing me? Hmm. So if we want to have more play dates, you can put these 5 toys, and if they're little, I'll just make it super reasonable. Like, really, if they just put in a tiny bit of effort, we're going to call it good. I know they're struggling. They might be tired. If they were offered a popsicle, they're on a sugar crash. Like you're just seeing all these things. Come on, you're going to help mom. Let's make a basket. Let's see how many points we can make. I mean, we can try to make it fun.
Yeah.
Um, you do your best to set them up for success. And oh, you're having a really hard time. So I'm going to take you to the van, but you're telling me that next time you won't be able to be part of our play date. Is that really what you want to be saying to me? And I think giving them a chance, because I think when we just come in like a lightning bolt, they can just freak out like, oh, you just took my favorite teddy. I had no warning. You know, Obviously the kids should know, like, well, you're acting like a pill. You kind of had warning, but in their mind, if it just happens and we didn't say, I'm, you have one last chance. This is my last time saying to you, or I don't know. I'm going on and on into all this detail.
See, I think it's helpful. I do have a question though on that is like I hear people say that they should have first time obedience. Do you guys do that with your kids? It sounds like you do more of like this is your last, like, do you ever count to three?
No,
Because
no,
some people said, like, don't count to three. Like, do you know what I mean? So I want to hear, yeah, hear about that.
I'm thinking of little kids. I'm thinking of
Right,
like
right,
a
right.
5-year-old.
Sure.
or
You're
under.
laying the tracks of like, this is what we do. This is what it looks like. I know that we're due for a nap an hour ago. We're going to do this together. Mom's helping you. If this is an older kid, yeah, you expect. And I'll say, so I will do this where this just happened before we came. Oh, 5 minutes is up. It's time to clean up. And it's silent. And I'm not seeing anybody moving. And I'll just say, yes, mom, right away, mom. Happy to help, mom. Thanks for giving us time to work with Legos, mom. And that's their cue. And they're now picking up toys.
Even going back to that bedtime scenario, if they're still whining, it's not, oh, you just lost it. It's if you continue, this is going to disappear. It's not a lightning bolt from on high that they didn't expect. It's I would often say I too don't want to lie. I gave you my word. I told you this is going to happen. If you do this, this is what the consequence is. I gave you all the time to make a better choice. You chose not to. So who's in control here, me or you? If you made the right choice, would you be having this teddy bear right now? Yes. Did you make the right choice? No. So then it's mine. And so it's often, it's not just standing there. It's often I'll put them and say, it's time for bed. I'm leaving. And then I close the door. And if I still hear them, oh, mom, I want a drink of water. I didn't get a bedtime hug. I think you hugged everybody 3 times on the way up the stairs. No, it's time for bed. And so it's those kind of things where it's, if I have to come in again, you're going to start losing things. And then I leave. And then if I have to come back in, well, what did I say? I said, you're going to start losing things. You're whining. Okay, this blanket's gone.
Do you need more?
Do you need more? And I mean, it's literally been to a point where the kid had like 15 blankets and now they just had the sheet because they were kind of pushing it. And I walked out with a blanket full of stuffed animals and the other cozy blankets. I was like, no, it's time for bed. Click. And then it's silent. And that's where mercy comes in because I left. They didn't know if I was coming back or not. And then granted, that happened kind of in November and it's a little cold. And I knew I would have to go back in the room to put a blanket on them, which I didn't want to do. So I was being lazy. I said, would you like these back? Yes. Well, what do you have to say? Sorry, Dad. Well, it's not just me you need to apologize to. And if they're old enough, I said, that's a good reason to even go to confession for if it was confessional appropriate. If they weren't speaking the truth or whatever. I said, we get to go to mass. There's confession every day. I think you should be first in line tomorrow. Say sorry to God.
Yeah.
And so then it's being able to give that stuff back.
Let's talk about this idea of confession or apologizing. I'm kind of thinking of tantrums at the moment. Do you or have you ever had your kids apologize to not only you, but like the people around them? Because, and this is just off the cuff of my head. The other day, my son was having a hard time and we left the park and I was telling him, this is something we haven't touched on yet, but I think speaking identity in our kids is so important, like positive identity. And so instead of saying like, you did this wrong or blah, 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 for the first time, I don't know, I just said, God made you so good, but you're not acting how God made you to act. And I said, so, and then after we had our conversation and he had his little timeout on the stair with me, then we went and I said, I think you need to apologize to grandma and grandpa and your siblings because we had to come in early because you were having a fit, basically. And so he had to go and say, I'm sorry to every child, or everybody. Do you think that is helpful to teach the faith?
I think it's so beautiful because in that example, they get to experience the forgiving grandma, the forgiving sibling, the forgiving mom, the forgiving grandpa, whoever was out there, so that it prepares them for the forgiving father. And so it's less the prodigal son, it's more focused on the forgiving father. And so I think even that situation to say that, you're such a generous child. You're such a fun person. You're such a good kid. I'm so proud to be your mom. Um, and because you're so good, this doesn't fit with who you are. And I know I experienced that too, you know? Other thoughts?
Those are the beautiful thoughts. Mine are more comical. We had a child who he saw friends that were throwing tantrums and getting their way, and all of a sudden he started doing it. Till I made the observation that he only threw the tantrum. We had a hardwood floor in that house, and he would go to the edge of the hardwood floor to the room that was carpeted, and that's where he would throw his tantrum and hit his head, was always on the carpeted floor. So one time he started to throw his tantrum.
He was little. He was like 4.
No, he was no. He was like 3.
Okay, 3.
He was 3 or under. And so I just grabbed his foot and pulled him all the way onto the hardwood floor. And he smacked his head, and he never threw a tantrum after that.
Not in that way.
Not in that way. But even when they were that little or younger, they'd be like, you just hit the wall. Did you apologize to the wall? That was not kind. I mean, it's just being silly, but you're just, if you do something to someone, you apologize. And it was more comical as a kid. Like, hey, did you say you're sorry to the wall? You really hit it. But
I actually love that. I'm going to start making my kids apologize to inanimate objects.
But there's a point that there was method to the madness. It sounds silly, like it's a chair. What is that? But we hurt things that we don't always see. Yeah. We do damage that we don't always see. Or if we do, it's like, well, it didn't hurt anybody that I can see. Well, that's not true. I mean, why do we go to confession? We go to confession to make it right with God and to make it right with the church. It's both. And so being able to say that I'm sorry to the people is kind of that human component of the confession. They still need to go to say I'm sorry to God, but we hurt people more than we realize often, not intentionally. So when we do it intentionally, we really need to make an amends that teaches us that. And that again, it's just our life, our faith, our love, it's all the same. We shouldn't have compartments to do it. It's just, how do we integrate? And we are not perfect at it, to be clear.
Absolutely.
We're still practicing Catholics. Emphasis on the practice. We don't have it right yet.
Yeah.
But it's a work in progress, but so are our kids. And the more that we choose to love in those moments, mercy is so much more powerful than correction. To say, this is what you earned, but we're going to let that one slide today, or I'm going to do it for you. I mean, one of the proud dad moments, I don't remember what our child did, but I said, you know what, you need to say you're sorry to God. And this was pre-confession age. So we went across the street to our parish, and there's like a rock garden surrounding it, and then it's a layer of concrete, the walkway, and then the driveway, parking lot. But kids always kick the rocks out. So the parking lot is always covered with these rocks that belong in the rock garden thing. And so it's like, every time you're going to pick one of these up and say, I'm sorry to God, every time you do it. And so we went across the street, just the two of us. And I sat there and said, and this is what mercy is. Mercy is loving you mercy is to love when we are not, what's the word I want to say? Not worthy. Deserving. Mercy is being loved when we don't deserve it. Said, you made this mistake, not me, but I'm here next to you, picking up these rocks and throwing them in. We're in this together. And you need to say you're sorry to God. And then the best part is his godfather happened to be driving through the church. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, go tell your godfather why you're here. Oh my goodness. That stung more than anything. But it left a mark in a positive way. I'm like, I'm not here. I didn't have to do any additional correction. It's just tell your godfather why you're here. Why are we doing this? And that made such a difference.
And I don't know how you feel about these. I'm sorry.
No. Okay.
Yes.
Great question. Go on with that. Because I'm getting to the age where my kids are doing the drive-by sorry. And I'm like, you got to look
Yes.
them in their eyes.
Yes.
That's
Right.
another question I have about looking in their eyes. I can't get my little kids to look me or focus on me or whatever. And so I told them, I was like, you need to look at my nose and that'll hold their attention
Yes.
for like a few seconds and they'll be like, look at my nose. So how do you get kids to look in your eyes and then how do you train them to have a heartfelt sorry?
So we model it after confession. I am like, we want them to be specific. I am sorry for hitting you. I won't do that again. Do you forgive me? Or I'm sorry I hurt you. I'll be more careful next time. Because sometimes, if I
Playing with
just,
swords, somebody's going to get smacked in the head.
well, even different, like if it's really an accident, but it still hurt the other person, you could be more careful next time. So I'm so sorry I cut your foot open. I will be more careful next time. Would you please forgive me? So we go through this. John taught me, do you mind if I use here? Okay, so my hand isn't big enough. But if you have a little person's face, can you do it to me? If he grabs my chin in his hands and just presses slightly, this is super tender. It's not causing pain, but it's tender. So if you've got your little person's face and it's a serious matter where you need their attention, no, look at mommy. Grabbing their face and look, this is serious. That is unacceptable behavior. You just punched Johnny. How would you feel if somebody bigger than you punched you? What do you need to do? And I don't even tell them you need to go do this. What can you do to make it right? And if they're really little and they haven't been trained yet, I can tell you what you can do to make it right. Here are some options. Like, let's brainstorm.
Well, in truth, in those moments when they make that, it's just telling them. I mean, we're not that calm that when you see a little kid just come up and smack them, like, hey, that's unacceptable. And then it's just a little pressure. Again, you're not hurting them. You don't want to pay for orthodontics later in life because you did it too much or therapy. But it's just here, no, look me in the eyes. And again, we're not about physical punishment, but it stings enough, so to speak, that it's like, oh, I'm gonna look you in the eye because
I mean business.
you mean business. And then you stop right away. And it's like, you're looking me in the eye.
And then the moment they start to wander up, you just a little squeeze and then they're right back. And you do
Brilliant.
that. And they know, like, mom means business. If she's got her hand on my chin, I know she can squeeze. I'm gonna.
Yeah. Well, they had the detriment of having a dad who was a physical therapist. I knew where the nerve bundles were. Here we go. This is not okay. Or it used to be when they were little. Again, we didn't really like to spank, so it was a flick. It's just you're doing something.
Earlobe. You flick the earlobe.
Flick the earlobe. Woo, daddy, you got their attention.
That's brilliant.
That's not okay. Boop.
Okay. It sounds like you guys have a few tips and tricks up your sleeve. So when it comes to discipline, and maybe even for each age group, like a couple of things that worked when they were little, maybe when they were more in that, like they're older, I'll just say age of reason. So like pre-age of reason, 7 and up, probably to like teenager, like that in between phase, and then teenager and up. Unless you think there's a better way to break him up because you guys actually have older kids. But anyways, yeah, could we go ahead and talk about like maybe some discipline tips that have helped you through those different stages? And then after that, we'll get into Q&A.
So when they are toddlers, I found a lot, it was in my voice. So let's say I'm nursing and the child starts to bite. It's this dramatic, like, no, and my stars, if I freak out like that and I pull the child away from me and say, no, that gets their attention. So that kind of a thing. And then, yeah, if it's dangerous, when mommy calls, you come so that I know that you're safe. And we actually developed, I didn't like yelling. We have a lot of close neighbors. And I didn't like yelling, come on. I felt like such a cranky old lady. And so I developed this whistle. And so when you hear the whistle, you come, or if you're close enough, you say, yeah, mom.
Von traps. It's the Flanagan family whistle. You're in a crowded room, you whistle it. And even to this day, our 20-year-olds are like, yeah.
It's been so helpful in so many things I didn't foresee when this came. Again, the Holy Spirit. Yeah, I think we already talked about if they aren't giving you attention and you need to talk to them, that chin hold.
I do have actually one other question about the sorry part, which hopefully maybe you have. I think it's what if someone doesn't they say, oh, nothing will make it better, or they give you a really sappy non-consequence thing to make their action better.
If you got bit and your brother offered to do that for you, would that make you feel any better?
Oh,
I think just kind of putting it back on them.
Or just saying, that's not good enough.
That's weak sauce. Huh?
That's weak sauce. You know better than that. But what else?
Yeah.
And if they're younger, just say, no, for this level of consequence, this is what I think you should do.
You can do their chore.
And then you just tell them. Again, you're talking about children who are below the age of reason. They're not always going to have the answer.
Right.
Give them the chance. And then if they're just whiffing it, tell them. That's what the shepherd does. Like, you're walking in the wrong way, and if you keep walking, that's what the little hook on the staff was gonna yank you back. They know this is where we're going, and this is what you need to do. And so it's being able to provide that. It's still in love, but be forthright. Don't make it a guessing game.
Right. Wonderful. Okay,
So
sorry.
After age of reason.
Well, if you're thinking of the different tips and tactics, it's a little pinch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a flick. I mean, it was comical that my wife,
Absolutely.
we had to work on her flicking. I mean, if I flick, I can hear the noise of my flick. And so when the kids were coming up and it's like, Dad, do you need a flick? And that's where it would count. It's like, if you don't do this, I'm going to count to 3 and you're going to get a flick. 1, 2. My flick, you can hear. My wife was more of a, and they were just like, what did mom do? Was that a flick? And so we needed to work on my wife's finger strength for that disciplinary tactic to work. But it did work. And again, there is just senses. It's not permanent damage. We're not here to inflict pain on our children, but there are spots where you feel it a little more to get their attention. To get their attention. Like, oh, it's like a splash of cold water. Well, it's just here. You flick your earlobe and like that doesn't feel good. Probably the worst I would say is I don't allow anybody to be disrespectful to my wife. I don't care what age they are. That just does not float in my boat. I don't allow anybody to speak. I don't talk to your mom that way. Nobody talks to mom that way. Not while I'm around. And so, again, severity might be a little more. Again, we're talking before age of reason. But the older they get, I don't need to.
Right.
Then it just pivoted, like kind of from 7, 8, 9. It's the wall squat. And boy, it's so easy to just hit that button on the timer. You just got 30 more seconds. Beep, beep, beep. I can do this all night. When do you want to get off? Beep. And so they're the cause of their own torment. And then even now when they're just kind of being sassy, I'm like, no. We also get the Eeyores. I'm so sorry.
I'm terrible.
I'm terrible. I'm like, I'm Ponsco. I never think, no, knock it off. Knock it off.
Oh, good.
You made a mistake. Don't be Eeyore. God made you good. You just made a mistake. Own it and pay the consequence.
And let's move on.
And let's move on. And so sometimes they just if they are just high on the emotive scale with the whining and complaining, it's on the wall. I can't understand you when you're whining like that. As soon as you stop whining and crying and can talk, come off the wall. You're moderating yourself. I'm just saying right now, you lost it. you're on the wall till you can get in control. And so just that physical exercise helps them moderate themselves, be like, okay, this doesn't feel good. After a while, my legs start shaking and then my arms start shaking and then little beads of sweat. And it's like, are you done crying now? Are you ready to have a conversation? We're waiting for you. It's your call. And so again, it's empowering them to be able to get in control and to make the right choice. And they are the instrument of their own disciplining.
Yeah.
Really, after the age of reason. All I do is a little beep, and that's it. Or, I'll set the timer on my watch. With the exception, you can still get the sassy teenagers, up to 7, 8, up to maybe 12, 13. And they can still be that little sassy moment. It's like, no, come here. Don't talk to mom that way. You don't do that. You don't talk to me that way. That's unacceptable.
You don't talk to anybody that way.
You don't treat people that way. We can have a conversation, but that's disrespectful. And again, it's rare that because we did that so early on, which that whole point that you're saying started early. Yes, please. We don't have to do it later. When I can imagine slapping a big teenage kid, but I've never had to.
Right.
If they were to say something like that, mom would give them the hairy eyeball and be like, I'm sorry, mom.
And there it's like, do you realize how disrespectful that is? I mean, I just said that today to one of our older kids. And they didn't. Like, okay, what you just said, tone of voice, this is how it comes across. And then they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. So I feel like there's a lot more of just conversation. When they're losing control, the goal is for them to get into control. And often I need to take a deep breath. And this is with children.
But we don't do wall squats, to be clear.
I don't do a wall squat. I would be probably stronger and healthier if I did. Yeah. Does that answer?
Sorry,
No.
Yeah, no. That's great. I'm actually really excited to get in some of the Q&A because they have some good questions. Okay, so I don't know what age this child is, but our first comment, I'm going to leave everyone anonymous.
We wouldn't know him anyway.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, so how do you handle a child that has zero care about any discipline given? So they don't care about any of the discipline that you've given out.
This is not offered in any judgmental way of whatever has been done in the past. The first thing that I would say is, has it been consistent from the beginning? I don't know if it has, that's a different story. But the first thing that comes to mind, usually, at least when our kids, it didn't matter to them, is because we could see we'd become inconsistent with it. And so then if it's spotty, well then, they do it sometimes and not, I'm going to ignore it. But if you become that rock of Gibraltar, that it's just, if this, then that, it's always the same. They know this happens. And then it becomes a matter of dealing with the consequences to merit the infraction. What did they do wrong? Well, you're a teenager and you just lost the keys to your car. You don't get to drive anymore. That's going to hurt. You're going to care. If you're the little kid and this is your favorite toy and say, this is the third time we've had to talk about you sharing it. It's gone. We've actually done that where toys disappeared and said, if this doesn't happen, we're going to give this to Goodwill to a family that wants to play with this and would be willing to share it.
So if we have arguing one more time, it was silverware. We had gotten this hodgepodge of silverware. And so there was arguing over, I want the one with whatever. I said, guys, this is just silverware. So there's so much arguing over it. If this happens again, this is going to Goodwill and you guys are going to pay for replacement where they're all the same, because then you're not going to argue about it. And that's what happened. And
so you guys really did give it all to Goodwill and they had to replace it?
Yeah,
and then
out of their bank accounts.
And then we went to the store and we got, I don't know however many sets. It was from IKEA. So it was just however many sets. And they had to split it between the three of them, the cost. And they were not making, I mean, they made like 4 cents a week or something. So, I mean, it was their birthday money. It was everything that was in the bank. It's like, do you see that now this is Well, now we've got silverware, but now you're not going to argue about it anymore. I think these kinds of things just have big impact. It's serious on their level before you get to the teenager throwing the keys away or whatever. I mean, obviously accidents happen. I lost keys when I was in high school, but it was not intentional. But, just these kinds of things to have a warning. And then, we've been working on them not fighting about the silverware for a while. And so then to say, wow, we're just done fighting about it.
So it's not a draconian response. It's a gradual elevation to you're not listening. We're trying to help you. You're still not listening. Giving them time, age level to accommodate. We can't, again, I still need to go to confession. I should probably go every week, but I don't. I have a need for a savior. So do they.
Yeah.
Lead with love and mercy, but it's merciful to not allow bad behavior.
Correct.
Yeah. I think,
And so we make it have teeth. And I don't care if the child, it doesn't faze them. If it's teeth on their level, what's meaningful to them, not what's meaningful to us. Those kids worked hard. I mean, that was a lot of mowing grass and everything else to get that money in the bank account. Even though it was IKEA, it still wasn't cheap. I mean, it was a big portion of their life savings at that point. I said, it hurts, doesn't it? I bet you wish you weren't arguing about it for the last 2 months.
It was like a year.
I mean, we gave you plenty of opportunity, and whose choice was it? Ours or yours? And every one of them said ours. Well, do mom and dad keep their word? Yes. You don't want us to lie to you. We told you this was going to happen. You chose it. We have to keep our word. We're now doing it.
I feel like it can be hard that first time you implement something because you have to know that I'm going to say this, they're not going to do it, and I'm going to have to do whatever I said. Like I feel like that's hard as a parent to be like, oh, brace yourself.
And to your point, you have to be able to say, I don't want to make up this crazy thing that I know I'm not going to do. So I have to be willing to do whatever the consequence is.
Yeah. Make sure the consequence is something that you're actually, as a parent, willing to do.
Yeah.
To your point, you're probably going to need to do it more than once, and it needs to be consistent.
So let's move on to the next question. We kind of already talked about this. I'm going to tell you the question as written, and then I'll probably change it just a little bit. So this gal responded with consequences / discipline by age group that relate to the crime. What's appropriate for age groups that reinforce said action wasn't right? So I guess for this one, we kind of already talked a lot about this, I think, prior. So what I would kind of change is common behavior. Can we just go through like a couple of common things that are push points, I think, in most families? So tantrums are common. Not listening is very common. I would say hitting is probably pretty common for little kids. And then I'm not super familiar with things that'd be really common for maybe talking back, maybe ignoring you, thinking for older kids. Could you give like, okay, this is the action. This is a consequence that is appropriate. Could you just give us a couple of lists for some of those, just to give some ideas?
I would say a common thing for older is I asked you to take off your backpack and get buckled in the van, because this is what happened yesterday. And the child didn't, and was actually the last person to get buckled. And so, and this is a 7-year-old, but he can take off his backpack and get buckled. He was just jacking around. And so when we started the van, he still wasn't even in his seat. And I just said, we're all ready to go. I need you to know that was actually disobeying. It wasn't just you playing. That was disobeying, because I made it clear what I asked you to do. And if you choose to not hear me, that's a bad choice. And that's disobedient. And so you'll be the last person to get out of the van. And when we park, I don't remember. I got him and like, honey, when I ask you to do something, it's important that you do it. I also say a lot, yes, mom, right away, mom, happy to help, mom, when there's not an action happening or there's,
Or I say that if she doesn't.
yeah.
She says it and they're not doing it. Yes, mom. Right away,
And I'm
mom.
like, oh, yeah, yeah, yes, mom.
Dad's
How
got
did
a
you
louder
guys
voice.
what I think the implication of what you're saying though is that when they were little, you would say that that might not mean anything to them to like just start helping. So what did you guys do when they were little in implementing those words? Like, yes, mom, right away, mom. What did you guys go and help them like do whatever you were asking, or would you like go and like move them, or like how would you reinforce that they would actually do it when they heard the cue, like this is your
There were
warning?
times where I take the little child's hand and I'm using them like chopsticks to pick up the toys. Like, here, you're picking it up, you're putting it over, and I'm again, the arms are like chopsticks for me. It's like, you need to be putting these away now. That's what this means. And so it's like, I'm done. You're going to pick up the rest of these. Go.
And there are a
And
lot of natural consequences. Like we have our routine. And so every morning, you boys, you're emptying the dishwasher and you're setting the table. And if you don't do that, then you're not having breakfast. So you are welcome to join us for breakfast as soon as you've done your chore. So we do that a lot. Just you are welcome to do this as soon as you just giving the control that they're the ones, it's not for a reward. It's not a threat. We're not bribing. It's really, they're doing it because life is better and it's the right thing to do. So
I love that.
I don't know if that helps
No, it
answer that
does. No,
question.
that does actually help. Sometimes what you said earlier, John, was that we don't give toddlers the opportunity or young children the opportunity because we don't think that they can think through that option and then choose the right thing and kind of underestimate them. And so oftentimes we just don't give them the option, right? Then we rely on threats and other things.
Could I just interrupt real quick? I think
Yeah.
it's helpful to have a pattern. Whenever we have toys out, oh, it's 5 o'clock. Let's get the house ready for daddy to come home. It's time to get the castle ready for the king. And so we're going to have, mommy's going to be making a meal. You guys are going to clean up your toys. And they know that this happens every day, or that we do cleanup before lunch, or that I just think that when we have these patterns and we have these expectations, that helps a ton. So that way they know, oh, this is what I do in the morning. It's the routine.
and even in that, what she's talking about, it's opportunities to foster love.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm incredibly blessed, and it's because of my wife that if I come home and my 20-year-old, 19 and 20-year-old sons are home from college, they run to the door to greet me and give me a hug because that's what they've done their whole life. We also try to emulate that really for anybody coming to the door. I mean, if you're hand deep in, cooking chicken or something, it's like, oh, welcome home. But if you're not, you greet them and love them when they come in. So it's not just a dad thing. Granted, I love it. It makes my day every day. But it's reciprocated, and it's not just for dad. It's like, hey, welcome home. Give them a hug.
Yeah.
That there's again, how do you instill that love? It's just in the day-to-day things. You greet one another when you come in. I mean, was it somewhere in scripture? You greet them with a kiss. Well, it's just give them a hug. Let them know that you love them, and it makes those other moments of the day easier because again, you've got something in that relational bank account to say, I love you. This is not okay.
Yeah.
You're better than this. We're going to do better.
I actually think that's a perfect segue into this idea of like loving and caring for another for the next question. So it says how to encourage siblings to care for one another, share, etc., and also how to handle discipline when siblings are hurting one another. So we kind of talked about the hurting one another. I think we've talked about that, but how do we encourage sibling care and love for one another?
I love how you were saying to your son, like, you're such a good boy. You're made so, awesome or whatever. And I think when we see affection or care that we can specifically call that out in praise, so that our focus really is in catching them doing good things and
Yeah.
then saying, oh, look at how thoughtful that was. Look at, you're so strong that you're protecting your sister. Way to go. What a knight in shining armor. Way to go. You really, I mean, I just, anything that we can do to, you held open the door. Thank you so much. That's such a big help. Way to see what was needed. Or I saw how you helped that little girl who didn't have anybody to talk to, or I saw how you grabbed her books for her when she didn't have the. I think just calling that out, and when we say that, we do honorings at birthdays to, and we go around at dessert time and everybody honors the birthday person. But I think even on a weekly or a daily, just I see that you're growing in this, or I see this character quality or this virtue in you. I can tell that you, and honestly, sometimes when, for example, a kiddo who's not patient, when I say, like, you are such a patient person, but I'm noticing that you're struggling today. Okay, they're struggling all the time. But just me saying you're a patient person,
Yeah.
they start to think of themselves as patient, even though they
Yes.
totally aren't.
Yes. No, so true. Okay, so I was listening to this guy talk about identity for a while back. And I think it's so important to speak identity. And one of the things you just said about like even speaking the identity that you want them to become, I think that it's brilliant because I feel oftentimes like I'll hear that one of my children is being like uh there's some name calling that happens, right? And so it's like this child's being a snot or this child like really disrespectful. And I love what you're saying. It's like, yeah, they might be disrespectful, but saying like you're so respectful. So why like looks like you're having trouble with that today. It's like
Mhm,
reinforcing the positive identity in them that you want and know that they can have. Yeah,
mhm.
and not letting them believe that they are another way. Like I think that is so beautiful. That's like a huge takeaway for me today. Like ding, ding, ding. It's really beautiful.
I would even augment that saying the areas that we as parents are struggling with our children the most, I wouldn't, I need to work on this myself, is a child is struggling with X. It really pushes my buttons. I want I want to see in them and praise the proper alternative to whatever they're struggling with. And so a spirit of gratitude in us opens our eyes. And so much of the discipline in our children really, I want to say, is a lack in us that we can grow in. And not a lack, but an area of growth for us.
Yeah.
That if we see it, if we really have eyes to say, what can I praise my child for today? And again, I'm not talking helicopter parent of, oh, you're so good. I don't believe in participation trophies. You need to do something good to merit an acclaim. Not my love, but you really did this well. It could be I've got a perfect example. I have kept it on my desk for now, I don't even know how many years. And boot camp was a training experience. This was a child that I don't know if you can even see it.
Oh
You
yeah,
can
put it
see the
right in front of
face.
you.
You
This
can
is
see the face like this is some drawing. I don't know if I'm angry, if I'm fried, if I'm happy. I don't know what this is. But it was this child's giving me their best. It was at
oh
that age, this was their best drawing. They were so proud to give it to me. If I were to look at this in reality, this is not a Monet, this is not a Rembrandt. This, this is not really a great work of art, but it was his best. And with a father's eye, I see it as that and I love it and I cherish it. And it's been taped to my desk now for probably 10 years.
oh, that's so sweet.
When we see our children, look at what they're doing as their best. Praise them for their best because we are so quick to tell them what they're not doing right.
Yeah.
They need to know because that's their identity is the incredible child of God that he's made them to be.
Mhm.
And if all we hear is what we're failing at, what we don't do right, The discipline is going to be constant because we're always failing at something. We're always doing something wrong. We're human. That's the human condition. Concupiscence, need I say more? It's just that's built into us in this world, causes the fall. But if we remind them that they're better than the fall, you actually have an eternal soul that's made in the image and likeness of God, and you are worth it. You are worth taking this time. You are worth spending time. That if I just spend time, I love my children. Almost half my family is dyslexic, like my wife and I. God bless them. They were stuck with it on both sides. But sometimes it's the thing that I don't like about myself that frustrates the heck out of me when I see it magnified in my kids. Like, oh, I just need you to do what I'm asking you to do, not what you think of all the myriad of possibilities that it could be. Just what did I ask you to do?
Yeah.
And you didn't do it the right way, and now it's broken. I got to redo it. Oh, that's so quick for me to go off on that. But instead, can I say, okay, Lord, give me the strength because I see that we're not in a good place between my child and I. What
Yeah.
can I do to let them know that I still love them besides just telling them that I love them? Words without actions are hollow.
Yeah.
To be able to say, hey, you really did your best on this. Thank you. Even if I might need to touch it up after they go to bed because it's not up to my standards, but it's like, you worked really hard on that. Thank you. Way to go. And so it's being able, what can I look upon my eyes, look upon my children with eyes of gratitude, grateful for them, grateful for what they've done their best at, and then take the time to acknowledge that in that moment. And that takes grace. That's not I can do it, my wife can do it. That's a God help me.
Mhm.
I know my kids are going to need therapy because of me. I just want to keep it at a minimum. And
Yeah.
so what can I do to let them know that they are loved and that they are good and worthy of being loved, period, and that they can do something right. It's not you're just a royal screw up. You never do anything right. You're always messing up. That's just you just doom that child to failure for life.
Yeah.
If that's the words that come out of a mother and a father, the people who love them the most in this world, if they don't believe in me, how can I believe in myself?
Yeah. That's
They
so
need to
powerful.
know that they're loved. They need to know that they're believed in. And so, yeah.
So powerful. Um, okay, so we have a few more questions, actually. I think we have about six. So this one is, this will be great because you had seven kids. How to discipline children with different temperaments. What does equal punishment look like when you have to discipline each child differently? Because one child is sensitive and one is most definitely not.
Hmm. I think that's where I don't know. I guess in my mind, it's like, well, if so and so is having a hard time making good decisions, and we talk about, we just do a lot of who's in control. I am. Okay, so if you make good choices, then will everything be fine? Yeah. If you don't make good choices, then what's going to happen? I'm going to lose my teddy, or whatever. And so I think it's just kind of clear to the siblings. I don't know. Give me things.
I would say that's where the law of subtraction comes into play. The sensitive child loses a teddy. The one who doesn't is sleeping with a sheet and nothing else. They've brought it upon themselves.
Yeah.
So that the consequence now fits the temperament because you kept digging this hole deeper. That's on you.
Yeah.
I personally, this is a warm, cozy blanket. I'm gonna be sleeping well tonight. And like, would you like it? Well, then what do you need to do?
Yeah.
And so it's again, it's the power of subtraction. It's them seeing that they are the instrument of their own predicament.
Oh, this is a good question. How do we prepare our children for situations and environments where our values and beliefs are not respected, or even like boundaries are pushed? Um, Actually, I'm going to give you those two because she actually did write some good questions, so we'll continue on.
Mhm.
But
I've got two different. I
Yeah.
mean, one is familial and one is non-familial. We had one where we were at a museum, and again, not pointing fingers at anybody's lifestyle. We're not here to judge anyone. But there was a person who was very clearly a man in speech, demeanor, but was dressing as a female and acting rather flamboyantly female as the person who was leading a demonstration at the museum. So we're here. It's not just somebody's walking by, but we're supposed to be looking at them because they're the ones leading the demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
And then the kids are just, Sally seemed a little different.
So then that night at dinner, so nothing happened while we were at the museum, but then that night at dinner to say, we're talking to Daddy about this museum and it came up, or I said, yeah, did you notice anything different about Sally? And they're like, yeah, it seemed like
She had an Adam's apple. So she did.
Yeah. So her name was Molly. Her name is Molly, and she's dressed like a woman, but it seemed like she was built like a man. Like, great observation. And then just to say, we don't know Molly's story. Molly is a hurting person because who God made her to be is a man, but she's not living as a man. He's not living as a man. And so we need to pray for Molly because he's wounded, clearly. And we all have our story. We have no idea what Molly's story is, but something is wounded, broken. And we're all wounded and broken, but significant in this way. So let's pray a Hail Mary. And there are people, and right now it's Pride Month. That's why it's in my mind. But to just we talk about our kids, like, why are we seeing all these rainbow flags in the neighbors' yards? What does this all mean? We have a book that we really enjoy about pornography. Well, that we found helpful about. It's called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, to talk about pornography.
Yeah.
Just what are some resources? And I think this is an elbow, this is an eyebrow. Why do we use all these different terms for the sacred parts of our body? So we just, I don't know, I'm saying, well, a woman's breasts. I grew up in a very German home. We didn't talk about anything. And it just made everything seem dirty and like hush hush and secretive. And so we just are trying to be upfront with our kids. And we passed the billboard the other day, and this is with a 13 and 15-year-old. And they're like, oh my gosh, there are these high heels. And I've never seen such high heels. And I knew it was this
Gentlemen's Club.
Super adult store. They sell pornography. And so to say, oh, okay, so that billboard, what it's really advertising is this store. So there are stores and they sell things with naked women and showing people having sex. And so that's what that billboard is. Let's pray the St. Michael prayer for anybody who's tempted to go there. Does this make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Question?
No, absolutely.
And then the other would be familials. I have a very loving family. Not all of my siblings and their children are in the same boat of understanding of our faith. And so when we would go upon occasion and visit my family out west, well, then I'm staying with, my sibling, my brother or sister and their family, but then they have children, and some of their children have children that happen to be the same age as ours. So it's my great nieces and nephews, if you will, that are similar in age to some of ours. And there's a big difference of how we would parent. And so then our kids see, well, they're doing this. Well, but you're a Flanagan. Flanagans don't do that. Like instilling, there's a sense of pride, if you will, of God made us. We've been given so much that we are responsible for. They haven't had the same teachings, the same blessings of people speaking into their lives, the way that mommy and daddy have, and the way that we try to give you. I mean, in that particular case, it was my niece was a single mom, just doing her best. But it's hard when you don't have all the other influences, and the kids could just really be a pill. And it's also just significantly different parenting styles. The kid does whatever they want. And our kids are, well, why don't we get to? It's like, no. So we would also call it kind of a detox, that when we'd encounter it, we'd speak about it, but we knew it was going to take a couple of days back home to kind of get that behavior out.
Oh yeah.
by us doing what we always do. It's like, I know they did that there. It's not okay for you there, and it's not okay for you here. And there would be needing to be merciful because they just had all this interaction with people showing them if I just yell and scream, I get whatever I want. That's not how we do it here. You're better than that. And so dealing with it and being merciful to allow for a time of detox, if you will, to come back to our family structures, but being faithful to it from the whole time. You don't get to do that. It doesn't matter to me if they're doing it. I'm not their dad.
Right.
You're my child, and we don't do that. End of story.
Awesome. What is the best way to teach temperance and self-control?
That's something that's so hard.
Give them a bottle of whiskey, they drink it down, they'll never want to drink again. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know this person, I think that they're talking about little kids. Like we're talking little kids. Yeah.
And it was clearly
So I think
being
things
silly.
like dessert. I mean, I think things like dessert, and to say, yeah, I would love to eat this half a pan of brownies because they're delicious, but that wouldn't be good for me. And God made my body so great that I want to take good care of it to the best of that I can. So I'm going to have a portion, and I'm going to give you a portion. And if you have more than that, you're not going to feel good.
Hmm.
I feel like that's kind of simple for a small person, and to say it's okay to want more, but that doesn't mean that you get more.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And there can be times where there are the party. We had a pastor, he was a dear man. For solemnities, he say, "Oh, it's a 3 dessert day," because it's a solemnity. And so then, well, Father said it's a 3 dessert day. And then, well, Father said it. Okay, well, we'll kind of cut smaller portions. But then you see them starting to not feel well. Like, see, how do you feel now that you had 3 desserts?
Well, and we would try to do like a breakfast dessert, a lunch dessert, and a dinner dessert.
Well,
but still, even like, oh,
she did that when she was on women's retreat or whatever. I didn't. And so then it's just, well, you had it. How do you feel?
Yeah.
It feels so good. That's why we want to be able. So there is within reason, kind of the whiskey analogy. And again, I don't give my kids alcohol. I don't want this going and CPS starts coming. Where's your alcohol supply, sir? We want to see if the kids are. but by analogy, that story did happen to my dad and my grandfather about smoking. He just gave him a box of cigars and said, you don't leave until you smoke them all. And my dad never wanted to smoke another cigar.
Yeah.
But that was like 1920 or 30. But the point is, there's still natural ramifications that they feel. So if there's the temperance, what's a temperance moment that is still safe that you can use as a teachable moment? My mom and dad did it for me with Easter candy. Like, oh, he's got an Easter basket. My grandfather didn't want his, so I got his Easter basket. And then my aunt who was there was like, oh, Johnny loves the chocolate. So I had 3 Easter baskets. My mom was being like my amazing wife, like, no, he's eat too much, he gets sick. My dad said, he'll learn, let him eat what he wants. I threw up. I can't stand the taste of a chocolate bunny to this day. Like, ooh, that's not good chocolate. No thanks. And so it was a safe temperance moment that I overindulged. I paid the consequence, and it taught me a lesson. But we as parents can leverage that in a sensitive way to be, this is why you're still learning your body. Too much is not often good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, no, I've been trying to talk to my son about and my daughter, both actually, about saying like, just this has a lot of sugar in it. And like naming things like whatever, I kind of get into the health world a little bit, but like whatever it is, if it's like mostly fat, calling it a fat. Like if it's mostly protein, calling it a protein. I mean, like this kind of goes into like micros and macro. I don't actually pay that much attention to it, but when it's something like yogurt and the yogurt it has more added sugar than it does fat or protein, then this is sugar. Like what you're consuming, this is actually just sugar, and sugar can make us sick, right? And so being like, well, we had this at breakfast, so we're not going to have something with lunch, I feel like we've started to do that a little bit just because I don't feel like I was taught basically how to navigate and realize that, yeah, just because it's yogurt, I like using this example because it's ridiculous, the yogurts we have today. But just being able to name that, like, no, this really is more of a dessert than it is anything else. So I find that helpful. But
Way to
okay.
go.
Yeah.
Well, adding to that, we've had the same thing, in growing up in kind of a hypoglycemic family. It's now if they have the yogurt and all the sugar really in the morning, and then they're losing it in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That are
Yeah.
you having a hard time staying in control today? Why do
Yeah.
you think that is? What did you do differently today than yesterday?
Same
You
thing
ate
with
a lot.
television.
Mm-hmm.
Noticing when your kids react differently because of television.
Mm-hmm.
Temperance and TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Or just cut it out. We're going to sound really crazy. Cut it out. Don't even have a TV. Life is so much better.
Probably.
We're like that. We don't have a TV.
I would love to do that. I just for the transition after nap when I'm making dinner and my husband's coming home and he needs a break, we put on right now Zaboomafoo from the 90s is our favorite. So we watch a lot of Zaboomafoo nowadays, but we
You
usually
do
try
it.
to keep it down
Do
to one
what
episode.
you need
But
to do. I came from a watchaholic family. The TV was just background noise, so it is
yeah.
crazy. But well, it's a game changer, and our kids love to play games because of it. Even
Yeah.
as adults, that fosters wonderful conversations.
Yeah. So one of the questions she asked was already asked previously. The next one is how to recognize, and I think what she means is decipher, like a malnutrition or an external force on the child or discipline because it's like a behavior that they're choosing. So how do we decipher between like maybe too much TV or too much food and reacting because of that versus like an actual attitude problem that needs to be corrected?
Yeah, I think the circumstances, it might be hard to tell in the moment. And I think either way, this is where the Holy Spirit comes in.
Yeah.
And you just use your best judgment. And sometimes we're going to make mistakes and we may not ever know. Oh, you were having a sugar crash, or oh, you were concerned about something that you heard yesterday and that's really bothering you. And so you're acting out of it. We're never going to know, or we may not ever know. But I think either way, we can do certain things to help the child to do what needs to happen and love them through it and get to a better place.
In part, it's easier in hindsight.
Yeah.
So know the
that's true.
patterns. I agree with Heidi. I doubt there's going to be the opportunity that in the moment, why are you being such a pill?
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to then give pause and reflect, well, did they eat differently? Our children have a significant impact with sugar.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a lot of sugar, they're really going to struggle with temperament later in the day or the evening. It's like clockwork. Like, you know what? You had too much sugar. And fruit, like if you're just eating orange, that's a lot of sugar just sitting in the orange. So if you ate 5 oranges, do you think you're being healthy? It's like, well, just going to the bathroom is probably not gonna feel so good, and you've got a sugar spike.
Yeah.
Well, and even there are times where somebody's behavior will just really surprise me. And then later that day, it's like, oh, you spiked a fever. Oh, you've got the flu. Oh, and so then the next time that they go off the rails, I'm like, are you feeling okay? So I think some of it is just experience.
Yeah.
And you just kind of know. And some kids like, oh, this is a trigger for you. Whenever we have to do this thing, you just really hate transitions or whatever. So I think some of it is you just get to know your kiddo and the kind of their tells.
Yeah.
And be merciful on yourself.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it right all the time. We certainly don't
Yeah.
ever get it right. We
Yeah.
just do our lousy best. But in being merciful upon yourself and your kids, you will see trends. Again, it's who's the parent. We need to be that role for them. I mean, it's believing in them, loving in them when they're not believing in themselves or loving themselves by how they're taking care of themselves. And so we're not going to always be there for them, but while they're smaller, we can see it. It's easier when they're smaller because it's much more dramatic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You ate too much sugar, and then you're off the rail. Like, okay, well, you eat too much sugar, and now you're just grumpy and snarky. It's like, when you're a teenager, but it's still the same thing, just muted with maturity a little bit.
Mm.
But knowing them, seeing what's going on, and helping them see it. But you can't change it. You don't want to be the one that they still sneak the Snickers bar in their bedroom or anything else.
Right.
You can't really stop it if they were old enough and committed enough to doing it. But it's loving them to say, I observe this. And then when they're little, you're telling them, no, you've had too much sugar. Again, age-related conversation. But this is what I see. I've seen it your whole life, child X. When this happens, this usually is what follows. I just want to set you up for success as a teenager. What do you want it to look like?
Wonderful. Okay, so this is our last. I'm going to sneak two in because I'm going to ask one. But before I sneak one in, so what do you do if a child says that the discipline hurts their feelings, even though it's not even though it's just like timeout, and they just come over and say, I'm reading into this a little, but just say like,
and then you could
when
say,
you talk like that, you hurt my feelings when you're being stern with them.
We have someone who does that. And I say, well, who's in control? If you don't want me to say that to you, or if you don't want the consequence, what could you do differently so you don't have this consequence? You're in control, honey. If you don't ever want this to happen again, great. I don't either. Let's be done with this. So that means that you're going to make the good choice.
Yeah.
And because I promised I'm going to do my lousy best to bring you to heaven and to help you be the awesome person God meant you to be. Is your bad choice? Is that you being the best person God meant you to be? Clearly, no. So let's learn from that. Let's not do that again. I don't know. That's what first comes to my brain.
I'm usually not that poised, especially with this
Conversation so many times.
And in those moments, I mean, the two circumstances, and one response, probably not the one I'm most proud of, is, and truth, child, I don't care how you feel. It's not about feelings. I feel bad that you did this to your sibling. You lost control and you smacked them on the head with this. And me saying that's not okay. And well, you hurt my feelings when you said that. I don't care if it hurts your feelings. You hurt his head.
Right.
This is hypothetical.
It's not just how we feel. It's what did we do? Words can hurt, but our actions hurt even more.
Yeah.
In this example.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have cared if he wouldn't feel good because you called him a name, but he's bleeding with a butterfly stitch on his head because you hurt him out of anger.
Yeah.
That's not okay. So in that instance, I don't care how you feel. I don't care how I feel. This is wrong. It's not about feelings. It's about what did you do and was it right or wrong?
Yeah.
So I don't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then here's my question. You guys seem
We're good fakers.
I was gonna say you guys seem really in control. Like a lot of the things that you say, I'm like, I don't even know if I have the self-control to be able to like take a step back sometimes. But how do you not be overstimulated when parenting seems crazy?
So I just want to validate that you have 3 small children and you are juggling a lot of things in life. And so right now you're laying down the rails of your family culture, of your marriage, of being mom, being dad, and your kids are learning so much. And so I just want to take the pressure off of you a little bit that our youngest he's confirmed and had his first Holy Eucharist. I mean, he's got big adult teeth now. He's huge. He's going to be 8. I do very little for him as far as like, he buckles himself. You know what I'm like, there's so much you're doing. I remember just yelling at the kids. So I would nap every day when the kids would nap. And so when they would come out of their, like they had quiet time and they could listen to a story and work with Legos or whatever. And when they were loud or when they would fight, oh my gosh, I'd be like, I don't know, And so, yeah, like this is my only work time. You guys have got to take your naps. And so it can take everything out of you and you can just be like a roaring she bear. So if you feel like that, you are normal. And it's, we've got all these years of just trying to figure it out, and we'll see something like, oh, I like that. We'll read something. Oh, Holy Spirit will reveal something.
We're big sponges. These ideas weren't our own.
Right.
We just saw it and said, ooh, I like that. We're going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, literally just 2 nights ago, I was in tears with John about parenting. And I don't know how to do this, and I don't know what I'm doing. And it's a good thing I look at the calendar to see that we're doing this thing tonight, because I probably would have canceled, but it's hard.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And it's meant, anything that's worthwhile is
The first, some sage wisdom that was shared with me and I passed on to my wife. The first couple of years of life, just keep the kids alive. Just don't let them kill each other.
yeah. And don't you kill them.
And don't you kill them. And you're doing good. I mean, there's time, and it's just you build the baby steps.
Yeah.
The little nursing baby bites you, think, ow, no. And you take the little hand, teeth, it doesn't feel good, does it? No biting mom, no biting dad. It's just those little baby steps of cause and effect of there's something better that you're made for.
Yeah.
And it's all gradual. I mean, if you saw our kids, again, our oldest, he's a seminarian now. He's the one who worked himself up to a 12-minute wall squat because he was so disobedient. He just wouldn't stay in his room. Like, come on, it's bedtime. What are you doing? Go back to bed. No. And beep, beep, beep. But the obstinance, I'm like, he's a well-adjusted, very strong young man. But
Oh, that's
but
great.
it took steps to get there. So again, anybody that's listening, be merciful. You love them. Love your Lord, love yourself. Let the Lord love up on you when you make a mistake. And one thing that I would say, even when Heidi was the she-bear, she apologized.
Yeah.
That is huge. That our children can see that we make mistakes. We're not perfect. And that when we mess up, like this was just for me last week. A child was just pushing my buttons and I lost it. He was helping me work on something in the basement. And I was just, I'm sorry I yelled at you. I lost my temper. I know you were trying. I need you to do what I'm asking you to do, not what you want to do.
Mm.
How about we work together? I'm not going to lose my temper, and you work hard on doing what I'm asking you to do.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We've got to be able to show our own penitence because we are going to mess up.
Yeah.
And again, all of this, the best time to start is yesterday.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, start today.
Yeah.
Just that's it. Whenever it is, it doesn't matter. Just start. And is it easier to start earlier? Yes, it is. I fully ascribe to that because our teenage kids, they have moments, but even the hormonally driven teenage years for boys and girls that are supposed to be the rebellious, a lot of that stuff even hit through COVID for us. And when we ask the kids, when life is picking up again, what are we going to start doing? It's been really different. So what do you want more of? To a child, every one of them said more family time.
Oh,
I said, okay, so that means we're not going to do all these other things that we even used to do so that we can have more family time. And that's only a product of a lifetime of being focused on loving each other, knowing each other, and being known by each other, that they want that. And so that's just what we believe is good for our family. Again, you have to know your family, what makes you tick. But for us, God's everything to us. And God is most present to me in my wife, in my children. I want to spend time with them so that I can spend time with my Savior. And hopefully I'm doing something reciprocal. And so the more that we do that from the beginning, the discipline, the love, it's all one and the same. But I mean, it's like that image of Christ where I don't know what the icon is, but he's got the stern eye and then he's got the compassionate eye. And it's like the blessing with the book of laws in his hands. It's a famous icon. Like it's both. It's Jesus. He did everything for us. He's got the law and he's ready to lay down the law, but he's also the loving, compassionate, and blessing you. That's what we are as parents. We need to be that uniform one person, but it's always both. We're going to lay down the law because it's good for you, but I'm here to bless you and love you and meet you where you're at.
So good. Well, thank you, John and Heidi. I'm so glad we got to have a deep dive on discipline. And really, it's actually just like you said, John, it's both discipline, but the reason we discipline is out of love. So, thank you so much for the blessing that you two are to the community, the people listening, but also to your children and those in your community. And we just thank you for coming on to the show today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Amen. And when you see Father Syndrome, just give him a hug for us. He's
Yeah.
just part of the family. We miss him.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Desert Wanderers. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up as well as subscribe down below. We're produced by Salt and Light Radio, so you can find us on social platforms at Salt and Light Radio or Desert Wanderers Podcast. We produce episodes every week and we launch them for you on Wednesdays. So make sure to tune in for next week's episode and we'll see you then.